Welcome to Daxue Talks, a show powered by Daxue Consulting, a China-based strategic market research company founded in 2010. With Daxue Talks, you will stay up to date with all the latest business updates in China. Every day, you will learn from China-based experts who share their knowledge about the Chinese market in 2 to 5 minutes.
Hello, my name is Jasper Zhang, and I'm the HR Director at PTL Group. PTL Group provides international companies with operational and managerial support through the various stages of their China market entry and growth. The group's wide range of professional services include financial services, HR management, logistics, and supply chain. In the past 20 years, PTL Group has facilitated over 300 market entry projects for the international companies into China.
What is the most important thing to consider when you, as the employer, wants to terminate an employment contract?
Compliance with labor law is the number one issue to consider, and is usually in favor of the employee and not so much with the employer. To terminate a contract, a company should have sufficient reason and proof to support. Otherwise, the employee could start a labor dispute and it will end up at court. This means you cannot just decide to terminate a contract. You need to be clear of the reason, gather enough proof to support it, and follow the guidelines by the labor law before you can actually carry out the termination of the agreement.
We interrupt this show to bring you breaking news of more awesome China business tips. You can find these tips on our other China business channels. Follow our SlideShare for informative, free, hands-on reports on a variety of sectors. We publish 3 to 4 China business reports a month. Find the link in the description.
What is the process an employer must take before terminating an employment contract?
The labor law requires every employer to go through some basic steps before terminating an employee's contract. The exact step could be different and depends on the real situation. Here is some general information. The first step is to have a conversation with the employee, making a warning and setting expectations for the employee to follow. A timeline should also be presented at this point in training as well. If the employee does not show any improvement and not following up with the expectations set, the employer will need to move to the second step, offering a different position within the company. The employee should accept the new position and try their best in fulfilling the new role, and if they didn't, then the employer can declare termination of the employment. Still then, the employer will have to have sufficient proof that the employee in question didn't stand up to the expectations given them. In case the employer thinks there is a reason for termination of the contract due to causing harm to the company, they will have to make sure this reason is backed up either in the labor law or in the employee handbook as a justifiable reason for termination.
How to terminate Chinese employees with minimizing the risk to be sued?
The best way to minimize risk is to prepare in advance before the issue of potential termination is even on the table. The company should think how to protect itself as much as the labor law protects the employee. Start with making sure your employment contract is complying with the labor law and with local regulations. Localization is the key. Make sure expectations of the position and office behavior are as well set and understood as early as the onboarding process. Make sure all these details are written on paper and the employee has signed them. Prepare your employee handbook and go back updating it as much as you can. If you have reached a stage where you must terminate the employment, start with making a mutual agreement with the employee to make sure they understand the situation and agree to the condition of termination. This way, the employee signs on such agreement. This is a lower chance for them to take you to court.
Any questions? We will find an expert to answer them. Drop your questions in the comments or send us an email, dx@daxueconsulting.com.